Hier moet ja, kan nie dit mooi uitspreek nie, maar ek gaan probeer. Kijk, so ek wat ons gaan doen is, ons gaan die gedig lees. Nathan, lees ons asseblief. Die gedig. Die ene.
Nothing has to end. Is it true? This lady used to sing us from the postures, and the cattle would not stop to graze. They would not be driven to the crop. It made me cry and curse sometimes, and I used to wish I was born for a skirt. Just imagine, penetrating the wet bush, almost double up, with heavy swelling coming up due sight, as rain comes. Pebbles of water pounding on the head, very irritating. Too, sometimes an angry wasp disturbed by the foregoing cows stabbed you on the cursed lips, and in the frantic stampede, wet thorns stand and random in your random feet, and the rain does not cease, and the cows cease, and the cows just go on. Come to the crowd, this ox, called Katuma, stands still before the rest. His ghost of silence disapproval shattering to your mind. Listening to nothing at all. And I knew then that I had to call for help. But people at home, in warm huts, could hardly hear me through the maddening rain. This ox, tail light, had 2 sniffs and a sigil, all meant to humiliate. We crashed through the thin bush, leaving me running into, sobbing at each step. A bone of anger, walking my breath, chugging after the rhythmic house, hammering the earth, and still it rained, and the cows walked scattered, and the rain swept the salty tears, and watering mucus into my lips.
Okay, so as jy die gedig gelees het, waar dink jy handel die gedig?
Yes.
Okay, behalwe koeie, wat beleef jy deur dit? Okay, maar wie kyk na die koei? Dis nie 'n boer nie, ouens. Ons lees hier van 'n rural area, 'n Zimbabwean rural area. Ons almal weet, in daai tyd het hulle na hulle koeie gekyk. Meeste van die plaasdorpies sien nog steeds dat hulle hoe kan ek dit sê? In most of the rural areas, you still see them walking with their cows. They look after their cows. They don't have krale. They don't have herd camps where their cattle can walk. They walk after their cattle. Every day, every night, there's always someone with the cattle. What does that remind you of? No, except for the olden days. What does it remind you of when someone keeps walking with you? Yes. It becomes a friend. What else? Don't you think this poem is a lot like God with us? He keeps walking with us no matter where we go, no matter what we face, even when it's raining, even when it's storming, even when times are difficult. He keeps walking with us, he keeps being there with us, he keeps telling us that it is okay, we're going to make it through. Don't you think? Yeah. So this poem is also a symbol of God's love for us and that He is with us. Okay. So quickly look at your notes. I gave you all notes. That lovely packet of notes. You will see that all of your notes are on there. Please go through it and highlight the necessary parts. So, like I told you, this poem vividly portrays the hardships of a shepherd in rural Zimbabwe. So, those townships are small, there's not a lot of people, they herd quite a few kilometers out with their cattle, and they are only one with the cattle. There's not another one. It's only one they sent out for the day with the cattle, and he has to look after them if it's raining, if it's storming, if something happens. If there's a bear or a lion or a a jackal, they have to look after their cattle. So we have to go out there, and sometimes in life we have to be prepared for the tests and trials and testimonies we have to be able to give of the things we experience. Okay, so the poem reflects the physical and emotional struggles experienced by a young boy who in his adult years looks back at his youthful experience. So this poem was not written by a small boy, it was written by a big man, a young man. Guys, what are the ages of a young man? Do you know? 18 to?
24.
To 25. Okay, let's give it 18 to 30. So you have a lot of time to reflect in that years of your life to your childhood. So this poem was not only written by a boy, it was written by a man who looks back on his past. Who of you thinks back to when you were a child and when you were little and things you had to experience? Things that wasn't nice, things that was nice. All of you. We all think back sometimes. Sometimes I think back to the days I didn't have to think about all the responsibilities I have as a big person now. You know, bills, etc. Okay. So this retrospective narrative highlights the boy's perception of his endless difficult duties under harsh weather conditions, equipped only with an old sack instead of a proper raincoat, and dealing with disobedient cattle. Guys, this is such a good comparison to us. God walks with us in the rain and we are the disobedient cattle. We don't listen, we follow our own minds, we do things that is not according to God's will. So then we have this shepherd that looks after us in life. This boy looks after the cattle. And he doesn't have a raincoat. It's not comfy. The conditions is not nice. It's not anything that is really comfortable. So that person really goes through difficult things. So when you do sin, when you lie, when you steal, when you don't listen to your teacher, when you're not respectful, don't you think that's all signs of disobedient cattle, if we look at it metaphorically? In life, we go through all of these things. Even as adults, we still make mistakes, we're still disobedient, we still follow our own minds, we still go in the wrong direction. Every single day, we go in the wrong direction. There's choices. Your choices depend your tomorrow. And that is what it symbolizes. In life, we still go through things, and it's still choices. Like those cattle have to choose to be obedient, we have to choose to be obedient. Okay. So when we look at the poem, it's a rough edges about a shepherd looking after his cattle that is not very good mannered. Okay, so we're going to look at the figurative and poetic language. So the metaphors here is bone of anger, pebbles of water, and ghost of silent disapproval. Yes, Maggie, just you know, please.
Bone of anger.
Yeah, bone of anger.
It was God's intense frustration felt by the boy, metaphorically joking, symbolizing how the anger is so tangible, and suffocating in that his hope if a bone is cut in his bone.
So, what do you think that means? Come on, Agis. Yeah.
So after the bicycle, unpleasant and frustrating and physical symptoms are not that the rest of life. As they say farm describes the intense frustration. Dus frustreerd van iedereen achterbaat en je moet naar jullie inkijken. So hij is frustreerd van hij is nog steeds klein en al die goede responsibilities. Want hij wel dat
Right? Dis goeie verduideliking met verduideliking. So I really frustrasie. He has this frustration because he has to do it himself. And he has to look if this girl goes this way and this girl goes this way. What do? Where do you stop them? Where do you choose? Which one do I stop? Which one do I bring back? So it's this frustration of constantly trying to keep them safe and they keep following their own minds. Did you know a cow, when you stand like this behind a cow, if you do this, he goes that way. If you do this, he goes that way. Did you know that? He can actually see. Yeah. If you're behind him, he can see you when you do this. If you're behind him and he sees you, you can do this. And he goes that way. And he goes that way. So that way you can maneuver him to go. It's actually quite interesting. I learned it from my time when I was working on a farm, actually. I saw, because I also had to herd cattle and bring them in, and you just get that one quality that just doesn't work for you. It just has a mind of its own. And sometimes I think it's a quite good parallel for you guys. Okay. Sometimes it's just that one quality that has a mind of its own. I won't name names. Okay. Lees my nummer 2 asseblief. Like it?
smooth, hard stems, emphasizing the physical discomfort endured by the boy.
Okay, what physical discomfort does he have? The thorns on his feet, yes. So, if he has thorns on his feet, do you think he's wearing shoes? Okay, in the rain?
Cold weather.
Cold weather, so he's getting cold. What does he have as a raincoat, guys? A sack. An old sack. Like, it's not like a plastic bag. You know those bags you get that the cow food comes out of? It's that type of bag. So it's a sort of plastic, but it's not. In that time, it used to be like fiber, but it's still an old sack. It's not really a raincoat that keeps you dry. So he's cold. His feet hurts.
It must be very cool in the morning.
Yes. When it goes during the morning, the grass is not exactly very warm and lovely. It's cold. The conditions are not always good. For instance, guys, if one of you had to walk outside without shoes and a sack for a raincoat in the middle of the winter, this winter exactly to be exact, you wouldn't survive it. You would get sick. Yes.
Maybe it's slippery from farm.
Slippery, rocks, mud. We all had that experience, falling in the mud. Okay. The next one, please, Nathan.
Those were shown in the field. The place of physiology burden the boy feels from the corpse, judgmental phase, which mentally shatters him, embarrassing his emotional fragility and fragility and the heavy fragility in fact of isolating and disapproval.
Okay, so it portrays the psychological burden the boy feels from an ox judgmental gaze. Do you think an animal can stare at you judgmentally?
Yes,
Do you sometimes think it looks at you and it's like that? I usually feel like that with my dog. She comes in the other day, I went away, had an interview, and it's the first time since the vacation started that I actually went somewhere because my Abekal children are on vacation. And when I got back, I wanted to give her treats, and she just like slapped it out of my hand like, I don't want to talk to you. So sometimes, guys, we have to see that animals can also have a gaze or a look They also have a mind, they also think, we just think they're wandering mindlessly around, but they don't. They also get angry, they also get tempered, they also get sad. When you take a baby calf away from its mother, she goes through a phase where she looks for him. She constantly looks for him, to find him, because she has to feed him. So if you take that calf away, she also goes through a period of sadness. That's also with animals. We have to consider them almost like people. They also have emotions, and they also can look at you judgmentally. But we talk about this boy. Mentally, it shatters him that that animal can look at him judgmentally because he looks after him. He cares for him. He tries to cover him. He tries to keep him safe. Guys, how many times do we do that with God? How many times do we judgmentally look at God when He tries to help us? How many times do we judge Him for something we cause? That's the parallels of this. And this poem is very deep, and it's very, how can I say, it's a very reality-looking way of life that we can see it. It's things we do daily. Judgmentally, we judge God for all the things He does. We get mad if we don't get a job. We get mad if our grades are low. But how many times did you actually put your butt down and study? You didn't. So how can you expect any results, any help from God if you don't put in any effort? There's a way. There's a way of doing things. So that cattle looks at him so disgustingly, so judgmental, because he tries to protect him, because he tries to be good to him. But what does the cattle do? He doesn't do any effort to keep in line and stay with the rest. He just goes on his own way. Right. Okay, so the alliteration we're going to look at is cry and curse. So it uses the hard consonant sounds to convey the boy's desperation and frustration. So the tears rolling from your eyes, and curse. What do we do when we curse? You say ugly words. When you curse at someone, you say ugly things about them. Don't you think that's also why the cattle looks judgmental on you? Okay. Then, that's also a symbol of what we do. In the boy's perspective, we can use it like God tries to protect him and He tries to help him, but He curses at the cattle. So, being ugly with someone, they usually say you catch a lot of bees with honey, not with any geweld. Okay. Hooves hammering. It mimics the sound of the cattle stampeding, amplifying the chaos and intensity of the moment. Guys, if you bump your tables like this, quickly do it. Bump your table. Okay, what does it sound like? Chaos. If every time I have to walk in the class and you stamp your table like this and you stamp your feet and you go crazy, then it's chaos. It's chaos because there's nothing. It just emphasizes the fact that there's chaos. It shows that there is no order. Exactly in this moment, the hooves hammering shows that there's no order. Sometimes in life we have no order. We go through life happy-go-lucky. We think everything is going to go in our way, but it never does. It's usually the time when we turn our back against God and we go our own way and think, my plan's going to work. And usually, when we run back with our tail between our legs, I usually have a good sense of humor where I think God is like, yo, you're concerned, eh? I warned you. Did you listen? No. Are you sorry? Yes, very. That's the reality of it. Guys, so the next one tells us the onomatopoeia. Guys, the heading is gone. I don't know where it went. So onomatopoeia. It shows the hoof hammering. It is the repetition of heavy, impactful sounds that illustrates the aggressive and rapid movement of the cattle, enhancing the sensory experience of the poem. So in your brain, you can see this poem. You can see that cattle running, the hooves hammering against the ground, the chaos going on. You can see that. Am I correct? Close your eyes quickly. Try to see it. Try and imagine you're in a field and there's cows and they go crazy running. Do you see it? Okay. Okay. The speaker narrative perspective. So you have the paper. I know you can't see well on the board. It's exactly the same as on the paper. So there's nothing you have to write down. This is just to show my way of. Okay. So the speaker and narrative perspective. The speaker is likely the poet himself. Musai Zemunya. The inference is drawn from the first person narrative style, where the poet uses personal pronouns such as I and we. Please continue. From I and we.
Further suggests that the poet places himself within the story, sharing his personal experiences and emotional dreams in the narrative, herding cattle and disease.
Guys, so when we look at it, you can see the speaker and the poet refers to himself. So the speaker is the poet. He's writing about himself. He's talking about his own childhood, about the way he has to look after his cattle, and the emotional journey he had to go through in order to look after his cattle, to make sure they were safe. Okay. There we go. It goes a bit bigger now. Okay, so the themes and analysis we are going to look at. We are looking at the central themes of the poem include the struggle against natural elements, loneliness of rural life, and the psychological resilience required to endure the challenging work. Do you think it's challenging to stand outside and work hard and walk miles and miles and miles and kilometers and kilometers and kilometers a day outside in the cold? You don't necessarily have enough food with you. There's not always water. There's not always, who can I say, ambisielokke. There's not very much out there. You don't have shoes, you walk in thorns, you walk on rocks, sharp rocks, you get hurt, you might slip and fall, you might go, you might face or encounter a jackal or any violent animal that tries to scare your cattle. Do you think there's emotional challenges to it? Do you think when you face a jackal and it comes for you and it wants to kill you, do you think there's any challenges to it? Okay, so the chances that it might bite you or try to eat you, they are there. It's challenging. You have emotional damage after that because it's something you have to feed your life for. Who of you have been in a very, very dangerous situation before? Say for instance, car accident, whatever the case might be. I know I have. I once rolled a quad bike. I did. I was 9 years old and I rolled it. I landed underneath the quad.
Did you break something?
No, I had one scratch on my knee. One scratch and it was a tiny one. Yes, that is called grace. It gives you another perspective to look at things. When you realize your life can be taken from you in a second. If you don't look after your life, if you don't live according to the will of God or whatever the case might be. I know some of you might not be having faith or don't believe, but there is things in life that we have to look after. There's this code we have that we call moral values. We have to live by in order to become decent human beings. Because if it was just chaos, if we just murdered and stole and plundered everyone, there would be no peace, there would be no order. It would be all one for all. And we would all just step on the next one in order to reach the next high. Okay. So the young shepherd's ordeal is a metaphor for broader human experience of hardship and perseverance. The longing for change seen in his wish to escape traditional male roles also highlights the societal expectations and gender roles in rural Zimbabwean culture. Do you think they would send out a girl to look after cattle? No. So what is the role of a girl in Zimbabwean culture? She runs the house, manages children, looks after what else? Her auntie's children or something like that. She cleans the house, she makes food, she makes sure they have a full tummy. So they make a house a home. Nice atmosphere, makes the bed, cleans everything, makes sure they have clean clothes, all that things. But I don't know by then if they have clothes. Okay. So the poem's reflective tone combined with the harshness of the physical and emotional landscape paints a poignant picture of growth and resilience. So it shows you that he didn't only go through hard times, he learned from it. He learned to survive out there. Guys, imagine you have to live outside for one night. You don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have clean clothes, you don't have a bed. What would you do to survive? Sorry? No, you still have to keep your moral values. You can't break into someone's house. You still have to do things right. What would you do to survive?
Kill one of the cattle and use its skin for clothes.
Kill one of the cattle. Okay, but you can't kill them because they're your father's cattle. And we all know what your father would do if you skinned one of his cattle. Okay, so you'll make use of nature. You know that lovely, lovely jackal that comes around? That would be my dinner. Okay. It suggests that while difficult times may seem endless, they do contribute to personal development and understanding. That's what I'm telling you. So he grew, he learned to survive, he learned that everything in life does not come easy. Why does it not come easy? Because if you don't work for it, you're not going to get it. Okay, I know you can't see it, I know it's small, but it's there and it's also on your paper. So the setting that we look at, Cattle on the Rain is set in the pastoral landscape surrounding the kraal, a traditional enclosure for cattle, for an unnamed village or town in rural Zimbabwe. The setting is critical as it not only frames the physical backdrop of the poem, but also the cultural and societal expectations placed on a young shepherd. Okay. Dan Volgende, evidence of the setting, line 3 mentions in the pastures, indicates that the events occur in an open rural area typical of grazing lands outside the village. Line 5 shows us that the reference to the cattle not being driven to the kraal suggests a specific structure within the village dedicated to housing cattle, highlighting the agricultural lifestyle of the community. Guys, back in the olden days, where was the kraal? Where was the kraal in the village? In the middle. Why? No, why? Why was it
safer?
It's safer, and what else? Guys, don't you think it's a symbolism of their how can I say, riches in that time? The more cattle you have, the richer you are. It's like their prize, it's their golden possession. That's also a way of showing off to people coming and passing through the town. Look, we have a lot of cattle. It means our town is doing well. Okay. Please read the mood and tone. Yes, you.
The poem shifts mood dramatically from contemplative and reflective to tense and overwhelming. Initially, the mood is reflective as the adult speaker recalls the past experiences. However, as the narrative of his younger self unfolds, the mood becomes charged with the immediacy and harshness of his experience in the cattle.
Why do you think the experience becomes harsh? Why does it become harsh with the cattle in the rain? What do you think the cattle's ways would be like in the rain? Don't you think they want shelter? Don't you think they also want to be wet? They also don't want to be wet. Okay, so where do you think the cattle usually goes to lie when it's raining? No, actually not. Guys, did you know a cattle actually goes to lay in the middle of the field in the grass when it's raining? They cover themselves in the high grasses, and then they went to lay down. They still get wet, but that's
No,
not
but
bad.
they still go under the tree.
They still go under the trees, but in hot sunny days.
But also when it rains. Because when I explain,
Yes.
that my mom was there,
Yes.
and once the cattle was standing under the trees, and the light moon struck them under the trees because they were standing under the trees.
That's true. They do sometimes, especially when there's very heavy weather, they go under the trees to hide for shelter. Okay. Continue. Okay. So, lastly, what we can learn is Jesus teaches us that when we help others, especially those who are poor and hungry or in need, it will be as if we're doing it for Him. So guys, please remember, always to see yourself as the person who is the cattle and worship it is God who is with you. Okay guys, please remember to pass your notes and do the questions. Thank you.